Christopher Robin is the latest Disney animated film to be getting the live-action treatment. Jim Cummings reprises his role as Pooh and Tigger. Richard Sherman, one of the legendary songwriters at Disney, came back to write some songs for this film. Talented actors like Ewan McGregor and Haley Atwell. On top of the fact, you got the director of Finding Neverland, a film about J.M. Barrie revisiting childhood as an adult and realizing it's good to be a kid again. So you really gotta ask yourself, how can this movie fail? It's got everything. It can't fail. It won't fail. This movie... Disney killed Winnie the Pooh for me. In the film, Christopher Robin grows up. As an adult, he learns the company he's working for will fail if he doesn't figure out a way to raise profit and cut losses. Unfortunately, this means he's got to work during the trip that he set up for his family, which his family doesn't like, and then this causes Winnie the Pooh to somehow miraculously appear again. You gotta be a kid again. Somehow. I will say, before I start talking about the bad, I will start talking about the good, and as I mentioned before, a lot of great talent working on this film. I want to talk about the specific voice actors who play the characters in the 100 Acre Wood. You have Owl, who's being voiced by Toby Jones, who's also voicing Piglet, and Peter Capaldi, who's voicing Rabbit. I don't know about you, but I actually thought these voices needed to be switched. Peter Capaldi has that general snobbishness that would have worked for a character like Owl, who's kind of a know-it-all. But that's just me. Either way, I actually thought it worked pretty well. Having Toby Jones play Piglet, the voice of Dobby from Harry Potter, I mean, that's perfect. You really can't say anything else about that. It's like getting Winnie the Pooh being played by Jim Cummings. You just can't replace him. Brad Garrett, who, believe it or not, in an interview stated that he was supposed to play Eeyore in a TV special 30 years ago, gets to play Eeyore, and it's perfect. You really can't say anything else about Winnie the Pooh being played by Jim Cummings as well as Tigger. Those are the roles he's most known for. I mean, he's pretty iconic. Other than Sterling Holloway, there's Jim Cummings. You can't replace him. The guy goes to hospitals and he calls up sick children with the voice of Winnie the Pooh. That's who he is. So look, I talked about good stuff in this film. Let's finally talk about the bad, because there's a lot of bad stuff to get through here. Right off the bat, the story doesn't make a lot of sense. On one hand, they want to make it this story about an adult revisiting childhood, which I totally understand and I totally get. But on the other hand, they want to make it a Winnie the Pooh story. And granted, Winnie the Pooh does lend itself to this idea of childhood going into adulthood, or leaving childhood behind, putting your toys away, in the same way that Toy Story 3 kind of took that concept and rolled with it. But for most part, Winnie the Pooh is kind of a reflection of what we are as an adult, but through a children's eyes. So you're going to have a lot of silliness in the film, and granted, when some of it can be fun, other times it doesn't go with this melancholy nature this film has. And truth be told, there is a lot of melancholy in the imagery and the cinematography. It's just a dreary looking film. The tone just clashes when you got those two things going together. On top of the fact that none of the characters are really fleshed out. With Christopher Robin, he's supposed to be this workaholic type. But the way Ewan McGregor plays the character as this sweet guy just sort of reacting to things and reacting to Winnie the Pooh doesn't really work when he's supposed to do cold-hearted businessman type stuff. Like, I'm gonna bring up this movie, Hook. Robin Williams plays Peter Banning, who's supposed to be Peter Pan all grown up, is very unlikable and he's very rude to his kids in the first few scenes of the film. Something with that shows you that there's a need for a change, whereas I don't think you really buy that with the Christopher Robin in this film. You know, Ewan McGregor is just there to react to stuff, to be a straight man, and he doesn't really bring anything new to that. Especially since in the film he's supposed to be painted as a Woozle, the legendary harbinger of destruction, which I'm just gonna say, in the film, they drop that line in there, and it's pretty awkward the way they just dropped it in there, only for the purpose of serving as exposition. Granted, when you talk about Winnie the Pooh, it's always been known to have a narrator just sort of explain what goes on. Expect it's telling you what's going on in the film without feeling like you're just learning something for the sake of learning something for the film. Speaking of which, things just sort of happen in this film, and it's not done cleverly. I mentioned it with that Woozle line, but other times there should be a purpose when exposition is going to be laid out. It should be fun, it should be engaging, it should be a way where the audience is like, oh, I'm just going to know this information because the film tells me. They show you. There's a fun way of incorporating it in the film, and the film just doesn't do that. I'm not saying the film needed to do that, but it needed some way where it's dropping exposition so that at least you know what's going on and you know what's supposed to be the fairy tale type stuff and what's supposed to be the real world stuff. And as I mentioned before, two tones that can work together, like I mentioned with the movie Hook, could have been done better in this film too. Since there's short stories being put together, it does feel like three short stories. One, Winnie the Pooh discovering Christopher Robin. Two, Christopher Robin going back to the 100-Acre Woods, and 3, the whole gang coming back to see Christopher Robin. All of these things are supposed to tie into Christopher Robin learning how to let loose and be a kid again and sort of have fun with life. The story doesn't work, the plot doesn't work, it just feels lazy. And it almost feels like the movie expects you to know a lot of what's going on because of how Disney portrays Winnie the Pooh. You can't say anything bad about Winnie the Pooh as a character. He's innocent. He's lovable. You love the character of Winnie the Pooh. And I feel like Disney has known that for years, and they've portrayed it for years. This is one of Disney's longest running franchises, for Christ's sake. So when you got something subpar like this, you can't help but ask yourself, they could do better because they've already done better. It doesn't mean you can settle for mediocrity. And that's the problem I'm having with this film, is because they're setting up the things that you should like about Winnie the Pooh, it doesn't help when it doesn't actually help the film you're watching and just sort of focuses on the name brand recognition. Hey, Winnie the Pooh, you're gonna like it. The movie can be mediocre, who cares? It's got Winnie the Pooh in it. And I kind of can't stand that. That's what I can't stand about this film. In fact, the movie makes me recommend other things more than actually recommending this film. Granted, when I said that there were good aspects of the film, it doesn't help when there are things that have been done in the other Winnie the Pooh movies that you can talk about. For starters, if you want to see a Winnie the Pooh movie that is a feature-length film, try these 3 films. They worked out really well. I'm going to say one thing about the last one that came out in theaters. Last traditionally animated Disney film made in-house. However, because they released it the same week as the last Harry Potter film, did horrible in the box office. So it makes sense that with Christopher Robin coming out, they do it way before Fantastic Beasts, another Harry Potter themed movie, comes out. So smart choice on their end. If you want to see a Disney live action film done well where they take an animated property and turn it into live action, Pete's Dragon. That movie works. A lot of the rest, not so much. They improve on things that needed to be improved. The original Pete's Dragon had things that could have been improved on. Finally, as far as a movie about an adult looking back at childhood through an adult's eyes, would be Hook. I know the film is a little dark, but I think it balances darkness with fun silliness in a way that this movie tried to do and just didn't capture. Guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this may be like the first time Disney has made me hate the character of Winnie the Pooh. Of all the things they've done with this movie, of all the talent and the creative choices they've made with this, it just makes no sense why we had the mediocre story that we had. And honestly, when you've got better material out there, why settle for this? Just gonna say it, guys. It's a forget about it. Put this movie in the trash and get it out of here. So comment below, let me know what you think. I want to know, what Winnie the Pooh movie would you rather be watching? Because I highly recommend that you go watch something else other than this. Comment below, let me know what you think. It's fun making these videos. I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and thanks for watching this episode on the Cartoon Palooza. Take care.